Welcome to Ancient Secret Wisdom, a show about the ancient healing arts and wisdom of East Asia, in particular from China. My name is Tsao-Lin Moy. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, an herbalist, and massage therapist. I have a private practice in Soho, and I'm on the clinical faculty at Tri-State College of Acupuncture in New York and the Eastern School of Acupuncture in New Jersey. The ancients believed that optimal health could be attained by practicing the Tao, also known as the Way. They understood the principles of practicing the Way as balancing the energies of the universe through physical, emotional, energetic, and spiritual levels. This program is devoted to the in-depth study of these mysterious ancient traditions. This wisdom connects us to the golden age of Eastern medicine, a time when tending to an ailment addressed balancing and healing the entire body. So let the stress of the outside fade as your senses transport you to an ancient, gentler time. I will be your guide on this journey of exploration into the wisdom of Chinese medicine and how it can help you discover your optimal state of well-being. So today I'd like to welcome our guest is Virginia Doran. She is a licensed acupuncturist and an herbalist and also a massage therapist like myself, and she's been practicing the healing arts for over 27 years. And she is really credited with bringing to the West the acupuncture facials, or the facial rejuvenation acupuncture, which has in the last few years become very, very popular. So welcome to the show, Virginia.
Oh, thank you, too.
So some of the, in the media in the last year or so, and also in a lot of magazines, that there's been this huge PR campaign and publicity about the kind of surgery-free facelifts, or the no needles, kind of that kind of stuff. Well, not needles, because acupuncture. So can you tell everybody a little bit about what the facial rejuvenation acupuncture is?
Facial rejuvenation acupuncture was practiced in some form at least as early as the Sung Dynasty, which was 960 to 1279 A.D., and it was employed for the empress and the emperor's concubines, mainly, because it was stiff competition in the harem, so to speak, or whatever they called the harem.
And also the skill level would have to be very high.
Exactly. And it is an advanced technique within acupuncture, and right now, it's just so hot because people want an alternative to Botox, which is on the list of weapons of mass destruction, by the way. Ostensibly, while we went into Iraq, they found a vial of Botox in a scientist's home, probably for his wife, but maybe himself. And so the people want something other than Botox and other than surgery, and facial rejuvenation acupuncture affords them an opportunity to improve their health at the same time that they're altering their looks and improving their looks.
Right. Now, I know that more and more the baby boomer generation, which happens to be my generation, is looking for, staying younger and healthier for much longer, more vibrant, and at the same time, they don't want to go under the knife. They kind of want all of the benefits, and they don't want to do all of the what they would consider just disastrous or something desperate measures or that kind of thing. So, what kind of benefits do you see with when you're treating your patients with the facial? Yeah.
People tend to look, and it depends on the condition they are when they start and the age when they begin treatment, but probably between 5 to 15 years younger, averaging about 10. Now, if somebody's 30, they're not going to look 15 years younger.
Right.
They might look 5 years younger if they look their age. But somebody who may be 55, 60, they might actually look 10 to 15 years younger, especially if they haven't been taking good care of themselves, if they don't eat well, drink a lot, or they have a lot of sun exposure, things like that. But I think, unfortunately, the media has really indoctrinated people, especially women, that, they're just not going to be happy, or they're not going to be accepted, or they're not going to keep their relationship or have one if they don't look perfect. And, it's really a disservice. And the reason why I can sleep at night doing this work is because you're helping people achieve balance emotionally, physically. It improves digestion. It improves hormonal balance. It improves the skin from the inside, the sebaceous secretions, the oil that's secreted. So when people are too oily or too dry, it actually can acupuncture can regulate that from the inside. And if it's from something they're eating, you can ascertain that. If it's from a hormonal reaction that somebody's having acne, as like adult onset acne, you can work with that as well. So you're getting this icing on the cake of this improved appearance, but you're also turning the aging clock back from within.
Right.
Because what happens when you age is all the bodily systems decline. Your hormone levels drop as a woman. Your digestion decreases. You're not absorbing your nutrients very well. And so with the acupuncture, you can bring these bodily systems up to their optimum levels that somebody can have for that age. And, have people who have sluggish circulation, for example, that can also be stimulated so that people are actually in really good health. And then,
so overall constitutionally, and that's a big part
so
of
important,
treating.
and that's how you're going to maintain the results too. Because we've all seen people who've had facelifts, who've had Botox, and it looks often very unnatural, and the rest of them still looks old. The rest of them is falling apart. It's like they're rusting and decaying from the inside. So with this, you're really helping a person with their overall health, and what could be more valuable? And why not give somebody the icing on the cake of improved appearance by improving the circulation?
Well, just
regular
acupuncture for people with digestive disorders and stuff that will show up on the skin. If they have bowel problems, they'll tend to have acne. I mean, it's very common in Japan that young teenage girls will have skin problems, and it usually will coincide as well with their diet or the onset of their menstrual cycle.
Right.
And so
have you noticed sometimes that teenagers, when they start having sex, their skin clears up? Those have had acne, because for some there's a hormonal aspect.
I don't really regulate teenagers or condone it, but I can't really condone it. But there's definitely.
But it is one way to tell if your teenagers are having sex.
Well, that could be a whole other show. Recently, I mean, I actually treat a lot of people in my practice where they're very interested, and I have to say that it is, although maybe starting from a place of vanity or kind of that kind of shy curiosity about, I really want to look younger, when they kind of read about it on a website or they hear about it. And it really, in some cases, opens a door for someone who ordinarily would not become interested in taking care of themselves, or seeking acupuncture or herbs or massage or aromatherapy or things to kind of help themselves internally. Because with this, of course, I've studied, for people who are listening, I've studied with Virginia for already a couple years, and I've taken her course many times, and
clinically assisted for me.
Yes,
for expertise.
Oh, thank you. And so it is really, if someone genuinely wants to look better, it's really, they've got to feel better as well, and that shows up. It really does. And I know you've told stories about some of your we would call them success stories, about people who have had treatments, and I know you were treating them for other things with acupuncture, that they also notice. You can actually, if you have anyone you can think of that was like a big wow.
Well, one fellow, he embarked upon the series of treatments, which is generally around 12, and he had rosacea. his eyesight was impaired, he had digestive problems, he had headaches, and it all went away in the course of treatment because you have to address the whole body. Because if someone, for example, is sagging excessively or at a very early age, it means there's impaired digestion. We would call it a spleen deficiency in Chinese medicine, but the spleen
also
being different than the
And,
Western.
yeah.
There's a whole history or a whole part of Oriental medicine of diagnosis according to the face.
Right.
So it's not something that's just been made up here in New York or in California.
So the faces, I mean, I know that's part of some of the four, to look at their face. You're looking at the eyes, the skin color, all of those things to look at their overall health. So, if you treat the whole body and the face looks better, the face will look better. Well, we're going to actually take a break, and I have with me today Virginia Doran. She has a website if you're interested to learn more about the facial rejuvenation acupuncture, and that is www.luminousbeauty.com. And you're listening to TribecaRadio.net. Welcome back to Ancient Secret Wisdom, a show about the ancient healing arts and wisdom of East Asia, in particular from China. My name is Cho Moy. I'm an acupuncturist, an herbalist, and massage therapist. Today we are talking about facial rejuvenation acupuncture, and my guest is Virginia Doran. She is an acupuncturist, an herbalist, and massage therapist as well, with her being in practice for over 27 years. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about facial diagnosis that was part of. It is part of looking at how someone is, in regard to their health, and that there are different aspects and areas that can give you a clue or an insight into what's going on constitutionally for a person. And so, Virginia, why do you call this facial rejuvenation acupuncture as opposed to the acupuncture facelift, which is you see a lot in the magazines? That it's recently in the last 6 months I've seen a lot in like Allure and Cosmopolitan that they've been kind of using that buzzword facelift.
Right. Well, it sounds kind of sexy, and people all know what a facelift is. But this is so much more than a cosmetic procedure that I think it's better to refer to it in a more therapeutic tone, because you're doing more than just lifting the face. You're doing more than just addressing wrinkles. You're rejuvenating the whole body with this extra emphasis on rejuvenating the skin on the face. So it can make you look so much younger, whereas sometimes when people have Botox, the wrinkle temporarily disappears perhaps, but they don't look younger. Their skin doesn't look more succulent, the coloring isn't as as good or as even or something. And it really helps make the skin look much, much younger. And it can help with puffiness. You can help with things like double chin. There's so much more than just lifting and tightening the face than it does, although it does that very effectively through some motor points on the scalp.
Right, which is when I talk with people a little bit about the differences between, and you can tell me if this sounds right, between a conventional facelift where they're really kind of just tightening skin tissue, And when you do the acupuncture, the facial rejuvenation bit, by actually stimulating the muscles themselves, you are creating that lift. It's a true lift, as opposed to just the surface. Because then underneath,
rather than just cutting and
right.
pulling.
Just like how it like exercise kind of tones. It actually really tones because you're working the muscles and helping the muscles move better, as opposed to just tightening the skin around your legs. So that's a difference. And it actually, what I've found is what people say they're looking for is, as far as being younger or looking younger, it for them, I think, is maybe more accurately is being healthier. Because when you're younger, technically you're healthier and you have that glow and you've got the tone. And so when people want to say, I want to look younger, I want to look years younger, that it's really about being very healthy and having that show up. And of course it shows up on the face, because that's what people see first.
Yeah, I think one of the wonderful aspects, so you don't have people whispering behind your back like, oh, I think they've been done, or, oh, yeah, I can tell they're using Botox. And people say, wow, what have you been doing? Are you in love? Have you been on vacation? I mean, why do you look so great? And, some people just smile and keep it to themselves, and other people spread the word. And I've had one patient that was so happy that she threw a party at her Park Avenue apartment to introduce her friends, who, primarily in their 50s and 60s, to this technique, so that saved them from facelifts and help them get healthier in the meantime.
So it was like the reverse. Yeah. It was a facial rejuvenation party.
Coming out party.
Yeah, instead of like one of those Botox parties, you had the acupuncture needles that were there.
Well, I didn't actually do any needling there, but it was just to introduce me to her friends. Whereas I've also been to parties where a patient, somebody said, wow, you look really great, and they'll say, oh, yeah, I guess I've been, what have you been doing? Oh, I guess I've been getting more sleep lately. And you just think, well, gee, why wouldn't you want to share that with your friends so that they could get healthier and more balanced?
It's the two. I actually find that there's two things. I mean, you have some people that want to tell everyone, and then others that are kind of feel like, well, if I tell everyone, then I won't get an appointment.
Yes, or you won't have that edge over somebody else. Yeah,
yeah, there's a little bit of that.
But you always take care of your good referrers.
Yeah. Of course. There's always, for people who are, the loyalty and all, or just whoever, you don't really choose your favorites. So someone is coming for a treatment. What is that like? What would they expect coming into a treatment?
It's going to be different a little bit with every practitioner, but how I do it and I recommend is that people do a full intake and diagnosis as they would in every kind of oriental medicine they practice, but then about have they had any cosmetic procedures, for example. And then needling points on the ear, because the whole body is represented on the ear, and there's nerve endings that go to different parts of the body, so it's a little bit like reflexology in that sense. They're just starting to understand what a lot of that about. The point on the ear to stop appetite stimulates the vagus nerve in the stomach to quiet the cravings down.
Right.
So with this, the ear points, it makes it less sensitive when you actually go to needle the face, plus very relaxing. It releases a lot of endorphins from the brain, which is the high you get from, jogging or something like that, from exercise. It's your body's own opiates. And so it also gives a deeper glow than if you were to do just the body acupuncture in the face without the ear. So I always really emphasize the ears as being an important part of the component. And then moving down to the feet and moving up the body, because you want to ground the chi so people don't get dizzy or headaches or something from it. That's about, one of the only
So this
problems.
is for people listening. It's getting a facial rejuvenation acupuncture, it's not just needles in the face. It is really about treating the full body, and then, having points also done in the face for wherever the issues are or areas that are going to be directly addressed. Yeah.
And needling the scalp before the face itself, because there's certain things when you're actually trying to lift the jowls, for instance, the flesh that hangs at the corner of your jaw. You want to do this specific massage rolling technique and bring that flesh up into the motor points on the scalp that would lift that muscle. And so I always do the scalp points first before there's any needles in the face that would be obstructing something, and then finish it with needles on the face.
Right, and so since it's hard, since we're on radio, I have to just let everyone know that the results, even from after the first treatment, are pretty phenomenal. I mean, you can actually see the jawline and the cheekbones get very, very defined, and the person can't believe it. It looks, it's pretty amazing. And then they actually a lot of times will feel it afterwards. They feel like a funny tingling and a pulling and a tugging that I've heard, that because the points are stimulated. So even after the treatment, they start to feel that like bump, 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 and amazing. Mm-hmm. Like conventional facelifts, they can be 6 months to a year of recovery with scar tissue and puffiness and numbness. Right. So
sometimes people get tearing of the eyes, that it's uncontrollable, or their eyes can't tear. And with this, you don't have any of those side effects. The worst thing that could really happen is bruising, or maybe somebody gets a headache. But there's ways to
which is
prevent
why you
that.
do.
That's why we do the points on the feet first, and sometimes essences are given, flower essences, to help ground the person. But you don't have to hide after a treatment like this. You really want to go out and show the world because you look so great.
Yeah, and I've actually, interestingly, had some incredible results with just like even a few points as like a, want to see
as
how
a quickie.
Like not a quick, but just, someone was a little curious. I said, okay, I'll do a few points and see. So we are going to take a break. And I have Virginia Doran with me, who we are talking about facial rejuvenation acupuncture, and you're listening to TribecaRadio.net. Welcome back to Ancient Secret Wisdom, a show about the ancient healing arts and wisdom of East Asia, in particular from China. My name is Cho Moy. I'm an acupuncturist, herbalist, and massage therapist, and today we are talking about facial rejuvenation acupuncture. My guest is Virginia Doran, and she has been in practice for over 27 years, and she is also an acupuncturist, herbalist, and massage therapist. Right before the break, we were talking about some results that, benefits and results that we have had with people who have had some of these treatments, a series of treatments. Virginia, when would someone consider doing a course of treatments, and how many treatments would it be?
Well, generally, I recommend 12 sessions. That seems to be the magic number, and you'll see results, as we said before, as early as the first session.
Right.
But around the 6th or 7th session, the results become more lasting and more dramatic. But people come to look younger, but the things that can get addressed, besides wrinkles, which really aren't necessarily a sign of poor health, so I don't like to overemphasize the wrinkles, but you can get rid of the fine lines, and the deeper wrinkles tend to diminish. But it can really help balance the oil secretions, the sebaceous secretions we call them in Western medicine, for whether somebody has too oily a skin or too dry skin. It's great for puffiness. Puffiness responds very dramatically. And droopy eyelids and eyebrows. So, I remember the first time I did it on myself with that, I felt like I had toothpicks holding my eyes open for several hours, because acupuncture is cumulative.
Right.
And so, the results keep going on for days, as you said, to have people feel a tingling or whatever, after the treatment even. And the results start to, maybe the first time everything is lifted for a few days and down, and then after a few treatments, it actually stays, which is the good thing. But it's good for bags and dark circles around under the eye.
Which is like everybody here in New York. I don't know about the rest of the world, wherever some of our other listeners are coming from, but in New York, it's not because of the pollution that people have those circles. It's really this kind of a lifestyle.
Overwork.
Yeah, that's adrenal exhaustion, which I've done a show before on that. Now, you had mentioned that sometimes puffiness can come from, post-surgery, and I know with the facelift, like I know it's 6 months to a year, and there's the numbness and stuff like that.
Well, acupuncture can actually help all that. So as much as I try to discourage my patients from doing things like facelifts and Botox, to augment the effects of those treatments and give them, as I said, the glow that you don't get with those. And you can help with the numbness, with the scar tissue, things like that sometimes occur with the procedures. But getting back to some of the benefits, experimenting was you could shrink, and some of them just they shrink over time.
The kind of blotchy sunspots.
Right, yeah, sometimes referred to as liver spot. And it's great for broken capillaries and rosacea. Also for enlarged pores. Some people, when they have a lot of oil secretion, their pores get enlarged, and this just tightens them right up. It's really quite amazing. Also, if people have uneven facial coloring, so they might be blotchy, they might be very red in the cheeks and, pale somewhere else, or sometimes they have a green tinge to the skin around their mouth, for example, which tells us something diagnostically, but it helps all that, and it really helps when people have these habitual expressions, these kind of concretized emotions that get lodged on their face. It helps melt the stress away. And you really in New York, riding on the subway or walking down the street, somebody has 20 years of grief on their face, or 10 years of, really acute anxiety or fear. Maybe they live in a dangerous neighborhood where they've encountered something.
Well, there's a lot that goes on in a city. I mean, there's just a lot of pressure all around.
Right. And this, it just melts that away. And one thing that nobody's ever come in asking for, because I think the media doesn't tell them that their life is going to fall apart because they have this, but clinically it's very important when people have enlarged temporal veins, because it means the blood's stagnating, and it tends to occur with high blood pressure and migraines, and it could lead to something more serious. So that's something that
could be
as
part
a
of
practitioner
that,
you always want to be
that facial looking at, and also a proper intake that's done. So for people listening and that want to go and run and try the facial rejuvenation acupuncture, that we also urge that whoever's doing it, and with any kind of acupuncture or herbs or massage, that you really, or even regular medical practitioners, that you really do a little research into who you're going to see,
and do they have training in this? Because sometimes I have colleagues I went to school with, and they say, oh, what do? You just throw a few needles in the face, right? And it's like, well, no, it's a lot more than that.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, I've just been doing it, throwing a few needles in the face and blah blah blah, and they're not getting superb results.
Right.
So you want somebody who's really trained in this specialty.
Right. And I actually tell my students that are graduating, I said, yes, take the training. And the thing is that they, getting the training, you also need to practice a lot, just because it is advanced needling. I mean, you are doing needles in the face. You really have to. And I should just kind of preface it. It's advanced acupuncture because you really have to take into consideration that person constitutionally, and then how is that eventually kind of leading up to what's happening on the face.
Well, some of it takes some real manual dexterity.
Yeah, that's true.
To do
that's
some
true.
of these techniques, because you have to do some one-handed and what have you.
Right.
But also, it's, you want to go with someone who uses really good quality needles that don't hurt as much, and hopefully that has a needle technique that's less painful, because it really varies. Acupuncture is such an art as to, if somebody doesn't like what a doctor says or isn't satisfied with their treatment, they just say, well, I'm getting into someone else.
Sometimes
Whereas,
they don't.
No, but
Yeah.
often, they know that there's a degree of, there's a real varied degree of skill and, ways in which people perform medicine. But sometimes when it's acupuncture and they don't have previous exposure to it, they just judge it by one practitioner. And there's a whole range of
so
ability
they
out
need
there.
to do a little investigating into
Right.
this
And it
kind
probably
of
wouldn't hurt you, with someone who was inexperienced or not terribly skilled, but you could get so much greater results with someone who's really skilled.
Now, as part of the protocol, so I know you developed this over the last 20 years or so because this is something that has been since the Sung Dynasty. At least it was kind of a record of it. So you've taken this to...
I've gotten things, translated from China, several books on this subject. They call it Meirong in China, and it means Chinese medical cosmetology, because they have it in the context of Chinese medicine. But
Right.
what I found was the emphasis was on external applications like herbal masks, which are great, and maybe some facial massage, and some Chinese herbal formulas to take internally. But the acupuncture itself was pretty simple, and I found when I did that, it didn't address all my patients' needs. Just what they were teaching were points that you'd know in your first semester or first year of acupuncture school, but those alone didn't do enough. So I had to kind of just problem solve with patients and come up with a lot of this. So a lot of what I teach is original, but certainly there is a historical basis for it.
Yeah, so it's not a new fad. It's actually one of those ancient healing arts that's becoming a little more
I think with
into the forefront.
The advent of communism in China, there wasn't so much of a leisure class, and people didn't have disposable income, and people were more in survival mode. And now, with capitalism being in China, there's a renewed interest in this, and you can find it at most hospitals and universities, Chinese medical universities in China, and it's they're getting the input from the media also to look well and stay young, and so
it's actually coming out of it's a pretty
universal
big frenzy that's going. It's very the weight loss and stuff. Okay, so we are going to be taking a break. I have with me, we're talking about facial rejuvenation acupuncture. My guest is Virginia Doran, and you are listening to TribecaRadio.net. Welcome back to Ancient Secret Wisdom, a show about the ancient healing arts and wisdom of East Asia, in particular China. Today my guest is Virginia Doran. We are talking about facial rejuvenation acupuncture. And so before the break we were talking about what is happening in Asia and how the popularity of beauty procedures and stuff is becoming very popular and showing up in hospitals, and it's also actually startology offices and plastic surgery. They've been using some of it as an adjunct. Now, Virginia,
and lots of spas.
And lots of spas. Yeah, it's showing up in spas too, which would probably be a good indication that this is a hot thing that's happening. Now, Virginia, in your protocol, in your program, it's not a series. I know you all suggest lifestyle, nutritional, and if relevant, herbal supplements and dietary as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, initially, I have someone just do the acupuncture so that and you as a practitioner can see because it is the primary and most effective part of the program that I recommend. But for some people, you need to supplement it with some supplements. Maybe for someone who has very withered skin, they might need a B complex, and they might need it in a liquid form that they can assimilate better. Or there might be an herbal remedy they need that is going to help regulate things from inside if they tend to be puffy chronically as opposed to just on rare occasions, things like that. And so we've always tried to get at the root and the branch, as we say in Chinese medicine. You're getting the symptom, but you're getting the cause as well. And I really like to use aromatherapy because I find that most people are using products, it could be from the drugstore or it could be from, the department store at an exorbitant price where you're paying for marketing, and they may not actually do what they're saying they're doing because sometimes studies can be manipulated to say whatever you want them to say. And so I find having something that really complements the work. There, a lot of moisturizers, they feel great when they're on your skin and your skin feels so soft, and you wash it off and your skin feels drier than before. They have alcohol and all sorts of in them often.
Right, so like as a stabilizer.
It creates the need for this. And so
that's great because then you just keep on putting more and more on.
Right.
You wash it off and you put more.
So I recommend good quality aromatherapy, which is not that easy to get in stores, but there are sources that are not multi-marketing.
And also you have, I know I've ordered from some places in Canada some flower essences and to...
Well, the other thing I really recommend and get people on right away is often some kind of flower essences. For those that aren't, familiar with this, it's like homeopathy. It's a vibrational signature of the plant, and it generally works on a psychospiritual level. So for people who have self-esteem issues about this, they are afraid of getting old, or their self-esteem is based on how they feel about their appearance, which is very, very common in the society.
Of course, because we've been programmed to feel like we're not perfect.
And we have those, those genetic freaks that are models to compare ourselves to. But but what I find is, everybody gets results from this, but some people, if they really have a distorted sense of self-esteem, of self-perception, they might not see the results. And you'll say, but hasn't anybody mentioned it to you? Oh, yeah, well, my colleagues see it at work, my family sees it, my doorman sees it, whatever, but I don't see it. So what I realized is, you really have to get people to be able to see clearly and feel good about themselves. And actually, one of the wonderful side effects of this treatment is you walk out feeling so good about yourself, and you kind of feel like, hey, yeah, I'm looking all right here, and it lasts for quite a while. And, by using the essences, you can really make a more permanent change with that as well.
And I noticed that when people are relaxed, because one of the side effects of just acupuncture alone is that it stimulates that autonomic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, and so their face is a lot softer, and people respond. I mean, in general, just respond much more favorably. They're not met with that kind of antagonism or that look of irritability, and so or people are just nicer.
Yeah, they carry hostility in their jaw or something. I mean, some people have perfect bone structure, but they don't look very nice. They don't look very happy, and this can really change all that, which is,
so people,
a real gift.
Yeah, the people
Something
end up like finding they're attracted to you for some reason. They don't know why. And you smell good too from the flower essence.
Now the aromatherapy. Yeah.
The aromatherapy. Yeah. Now, you had mentioned when we were on the break before that you are also working with a dermatologist to doing some actual research and measuring things like collagen and moisture.
Because there's no real studies on this. There was something that was done in China that was reported in a 1996 article from the International Journal of Clinical Acupuncture, and it said that out of 300 cases of people treated with facial acupuncture, 90% had marked effects with one course of treatment, with the skin becoming more delicate and fair, improvement of elasticity, less wrinkling, overall rejuvenation of the face. But it's probably not a study that would stand up in Western medical circles. So I'm planning to work with a dermatologist, and they have about $500,000 worth of equipment to measure changes in the skin. So we'll be able to measure moisture content, the sebum content, the oil in the skin, the depth of wrinkles, the size of the double chin. That's one of the things I didn't mention before, but is really great for double chins. Whether it's because of your posture, because some people, if their neck is tucked, even if they're thin, they appear to have a double chin, or if it's a thyroid condition, if there's phlegm and lymph accumulation there. Unless there's a real serious overweight condition, you can get rid of a double chin, and even still you can diminish it quite a bit.
Which is amazing, because it's like nothing takes care of that double chin.
Well, I guess they vacuum it out, liposuction or something, but this, you can get at what the cause of it is, and so, it's going to help any kind of neck pain somebody might have, and balance the thyroid, whether it's hypo or hyper. I've had people who've had Graves' disease, which is a hyper condition, and have that regulated with acupuncture, treating the thyroid.
Which is fabulous. And of course, if somebody has a thyroid condition, that it does upset the balance, the constitutional balance of the person, and they could find themselves having skin problems is one of those things, hair falling out, all kinds of stuff that starts going on, and for sure not looking so well and not feeling very well.
Oh, yes, and having emotional swings. There's a lot of depression, a lot of crying that comes from a very underactive thyroid, where people cry for no apparent reason. You say, well, why are you crying? I don't know, I just can't take it anymore. What can't you take? I don't know, I can't take it.
Which is, we shouldn't laugh about it, because it does.
No, I encountered that myself about 30 years ago, and I was treated for it, fortunately. And
luckily you were treated for your thyroid and not just given an antidepressant.
Yeah.
Now, what is you also find that men and women are both? Okay.
Yeah, they're both getting the treatment. Obviously, women are probably coming in more numbers, but I think the stigma has been lifted for men. Trying out these kind of treatments. It might be somebody who's going back to work at the age of 50, and they're starting a new job or something, and they need to have that kind of competitive edge of looking younger with their colleagues, but there's so many different applications for this. People use it before weddings. They use it, when they're going through a divorce. They use it if they're going to be in front of the camera with an interview, or
and it's pretty easy,
doing a play or something.
And it's very it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe.
And which is a big thing. You're not going to be worried about not waking up or something.
And prices vary, across the board according to someone's experience. But what you probably want to do if you are looking for something like this, on my website I have not only frequently asked questions, but I have a referral service of people who have chosen. There's lots of people who take the course that don't choose to be on it, but these are people that really do a lot of this work and are happy to take new patients in this arena.
Great.
So that's luminousbeauty.com.
Okay, so we actually have to wrap up. If you would like to, and I urge you all to take a look at Virginia's website, it's www.luminousbeauty.com, so you can find out more about facial rejuvenation acupuncture, and she also has a referral list. You can also check the link out from my website, which is www.integrativehealingarts.com. And Virginia, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
And thank you, Mike, also for doing all the editing. And you're listening to TribecaRadio.net.